welcome to Labor Lens. I am Sharon Ijason. On this week's edition of the program, we'll be focusing on unemployment in Nigeria as a report released by KPMG announced that more than 40% of the working force in the country are unemployed. We have interesting news stories for you. We will be right back.
Senior Staff Association of Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, Yaba, says it has partnered with Federal Government Housing Loan Board and Brooks Asset and Resources Limited on provision of affordable housing for its members. Chairman of the association, Omoniyi Olalekan, disclosed this in Lagos on the sidelines of the Senior Staff Association of University Teaching Hospital Home Ownership Scheme. He said that the partnership was aimed at providing affordable housing for members, adding that all the stakeholders were invited to the hospital to explain the process and procedures to the prospective beneficiaries.
Various cadres of staff. I must say that this is a laudable attempt at preparation of the staff. So all the members of Senior Staff Association, I want to congratulate you this morning. Information is power. And that is why you are gathered together. You may have opportunity, but if you are not aware of it, you will not use it. Is that also? So, what we are here for this morning is to equip us with adequate knowledge on how to better the life and the welfare of staff of this hospital.
When the PENCOM released that particular statement, they said 25% is expected to be used for residential purposes. And since then, we've been hammering it to their hearing. How much will 25% make out of our own pension? Let's take, for instance, somebody who has a total pension for now is about 6 million, and you are saying 25% of that should be used for housing loan. How much? Tell me, what is the 25% of 6 million? It cannot even buy a plot of land in Lagos State. So, to me, I think there is need for PENCOM to really sit down and up their game. Probably they should increase it to like something 50%.
We are mandated to facilitate housing loans for all federal public servants. If you are a federal public servant, you are free to access our loan wherever you are in Nigeria. It's not only in Lagos or in your state, wherever you want to build a house or you want to purchase a house. So you are free to come to our services.
The Nigerian Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers (NUPENG) has warned the federal government not to contemplate the removal of the subsidy on petrol without local refinery capacity in view of its socio-economic implications on businesses and ordinary Nigerians. This is contained in a communique by NUPENG leaders at the end of the union's National Executive Council NECA meeting in Lagos, signed by President and General Secretary of NUPENG, Williams Apurera and Afolabi Olawale. The communique implied that NEC in Council also examined the recurrent discussion for the removal of subsidy from the PMS and expresses deep concerns over the failure of the federal government to do the needful as severally advised by organized labor, and the regulation of the PMS should not be predicted on importation of the products because of all the obvious negative impacts on the socio-economic life of the people and nation in general.
This Nigeria that we are, there is job, but the problem government is having is that they are not censoring this, what do you call it now, this retirement age. Retirement, people are retiring every day. Every second, every minute, people are retiring, but government are not replacing people. If government should try and focus to where they're supposed to focus attention to. You will discover that people will be getting job. You can take, for instance, every year they are rolling out graduates from the university. And these graduates, they want to come to the labor market. But the people that are supposed to retire, they are not going. Look at this. Recently now, government just adding 5 years to the duration that the civil servant is supposed to be using as against that 60 years. To me, it's not a good idea.
It's a terrible thing, sincerely speaking. If you look at the number of sites that people are using to defraud people looking for employment, it is alarming. Again, if you look at the way people are being ferried across the desert because they are looking for greener pasture, it's alarming. So when you look at the totality of this thing, you know that there must be an urgent thing to tackle unemployment in Nigeria, especially among graduates. And when I mean graduates, not secondary school leavers, I mean university graduates, HND, and colleges of education. At least those people graduated from those schools deserve good employment, and government must do something about it.
I see unemployment in Nigeria is actually on the very high rate. But I will first of all say, even with the youth, are we ready to work? The thing is vice versa. When we say the unemployment and the increase, the youth itself, that is the unemployed youth, are they ready to work? Majority of the youth now are not ready to work. I don't know, based on the different reasons. Everybody has his own reason. But I want to tell you that even the youth, even when government said the job is available, are the youth ready to work compared to like in those 80s, 90s? You know why people are eager to work. The youth are hungry to work. But these days, we are not ready to work because maybe the salary given by the government will not be okay for us, or one reason or the other. So, it's, as I said earlier, that it's vice versa. If government can see it, before we can talk about that the government should increase the rate or the rate of employment, one of what they should also see how they can be able to convince this youth to apply for even the one that's available.
Civil service, you see, if you go there, you see 6 people working in a department where they are not supposed to be there. A job that is meant for one person, you see 10 people in that room, in that office. They are doing nothing. And so there is no job in the civil service. And there is one avenue which I will advise the government to take on. There is this, they can go into farming. Youths that are sincere in going to farming can approach Bank of Industry. The government has already made it available. But there is this thing that government is doing that is not right. They give money to the boys. And some of these boys are people that goes around spending their money. But the money should go to the rightful hands. So if our youth are saying there's no job, there is job. But to go about it is the problem.
On the profile interview segment this week, I'll be speaking with the Director General of the Nigeria Employers Consultative Association. He brings us up to speed on practical solutions towards eradicating unemployment in the country, while also sharing his thoughts as Nigeria transitions between governments. It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you.
A lot is happening in Nigeria at the moment, and we know that when we talk about labor, we talk about the organized private sector, and we talk about government as well. Recently, a disturbing report was released that more than 40% of the population are unemployed. What would be NECA's reaction to this development?
Well, this is quite worrisome. More so when we look at the strata of that population that is mostly hit, which is the young population. And the first question is, will it have been different? Looking at the parameters and the elements that made that figure to be so. If the quantum of the list or the volume of unemployment is going down, then there must be parameters that are driving it. And at the same time, if the unemployment rate is going up, it's also definitive that there are some parameters or elements that are driving it. And looking at the context of now, realize all parameters seems to be driving or fueling unemployment. So those issues, those parameters are everywhere for us to see. The industry are not working at a full capacity utilization. If you go to the far north, the level of deindustrialization that has happened in those areas, they also contribute to the quantum of unemployment. Because of those issues of this industrialization fueled by insecurity, you realize that at that axis, most industry have either closed down, migrated back to the more safer climes, or actually leave the country. So those are factors that you find that probably will have contributed to it. And the recent past, our recent challenges, which...
That takes us to the next question, which has to do with economic policies in the country. As a representative of the organized private sector, would you say that we have friendly economic policies? Because we know that there are different employers of labor, but we know that organized private sector actually represents the large chunk of employers in the country.
Well, it's a complex question you've asked, because in certain instances, you see the policies actually pro-growth, and in the same breath, you have elements in the government or some other agencies in the government contradicting those policies. So the contradictions sometimes seems to negate the policy that we have. You have a government agency or ministry coming up with policies that promotes employment generation. And at the same time, you have other agencies of government creating bottlenecks for organized businesses that are supposed to generate employment. So as one agency of government is doing its bits to promote ease of doing business, you have within the same system some other agencies that are also creating bottlenecks for organized businesses. So fundamentally, while government is trying its best to make the environment hospitable for organized businesses, I think the inherent contradictions in that same system is what government has not been able to deal with. And we can see those contradictions everywhere.
Looking at the current challenge that Nigerians are faced with, you want to ask, because of the multiple inflations that Nigerians have been experiencing, you want to look at what is the pay even at the workplace. We know the minimum wage is supposed to be the minimum standard, but we can say that inflation has eroded whatever benefit that the minimum wage would have to offer. What is the organized private business doing to ensure that for those that are even working, they are actually earning a decent wage?
At the private sector level, the narration is a bit different. Even far beyond or before the 30,000 minimum wage was arrived at 4 years ago, organized private sector, we actually paying above the 30,000 minimum wage. And because via the instrumentality of collective bargaining, salary increases every month through performance appraisals, consistently, and also the instrumentality of collective bargaining, the private sector has consistently been doing a bit, as much as it can do within the context of its limitation in increasing salary, coming up with schemes, employee welfare schemes. While it's not the same in the public sector for reasons best known to government, but in the private sector we've done quite a bit. Now, inflation, as you mentioned, has eroded the purchasing power of all Nigerians. And the same way it has eroded the purchasing power of Nigerians, it has also created a lot of challenges for businesses themselves. Well, we must commend the resilience and the doggedness of an average Nigerian business for them to be able to consistently focus on employee welfare and also consistently promote issues that has to do with employee, even at the risk sometimes of their own existence. So at the private sector, I think we are doing well. There's room for improvement. But as the environment improves, as the business environment continues to become more hospitable, and businesses can actually focus on competitiveness. Because now most organizations are already focused on sustainability. If you are not sustainable, then you can't be competitive. So once we cross the threshold of sustainability, where we can only give as much as you have, and we move to the realm of competitiveness, then you can start looking at all other issues that can keep your business grounded and also do much more as you wish you can do concerning employee welfare.
Talking about low industrialization and limited investment by private sector, what would you say is mitigating these developments that probably we should be seeing in the industry at the moment?
You know, for a rational investor, for you to invest, or for you to invest more, you look at some parameters. One, is the environment hospitable for you to invest? A local investor or a foreign investor, we also look at how easy is it for you to repatriate my money. Now we have an issue where some foreign airlines have over $700 million trapped in Nigeria because they couldn't take away their cash. We have issues of insecurity. You know, an investor will also look at the security. Is it safe for me to invest? If your answers to those questions are not positive, then you will consider investing because the environment seems to be of high risk. And in that instance, because an investor will always want to invest, he probably will take his money to another clime, which is part of the challenges that we're having. We have an unresolved issue concerning the security. Government has done a lot, but there's still much more to be done. We have issue of the environment, the fiscal and monetary policy, which are sometimes also contradictory, not alignment between those two policies. So an investor will look at how stable the environment is. If it's not stable, then I will likely not take the risk. So those that have come in to invest, we also want to commend their doggedness and their resilience. And those that are already invested here, that have invested money here, we also want to commend their staying power. Some said it takes, you must be unusual to run business in this environment. And sometimes we tend to agree because of the myriads, the multi-dimensional, let me use the word of government, the multi-dimensional challenges that you face as an enterprise.
4 to 5 million new entrants of people, young persons that would like to move to the job market, and there are no jobs to accommodate these young minds. What do you think would be the solution in terms of reducing unemployment in the country? And would you say that small, medium-scale enterprises could be the way out to cushion this effect?
The SMEs and MSMEs are part of the ways. Now, this conversation is we look at it from this perspective. You cannot control the supply side because we have, we've lost count of how many universities we have now. So you cannot control the supply side. You cannot close the universities and say, okay, let's close for 2 or 3 years and nobody should graduate. You can't do that. So as much as you can't control the supply side, then you can do enough to make sure that the demand pipe is wider. And in that context, I mean, you must make sure that the industries, the businesses, they keep expanding, they are sustainable, they are expanding, so that they can assimilate as many as is possible from those that are coming. Now, the second thing you have to do is industries that have closed shop. Those areas, the northern area, northwest, northeast that we mentioned, we also make sure that we revive the businesses in those areas. Sectors that are moribund, like textile, those are sectors that can employ huge number of Nigerians. You deal with that. Then you now focus on issue of entrepreneurship. Rather than everybody looking for job, let's create a structured system, a structured technical and vocational skills system that is aligned to our national development plan and also focus. So when graduates or youths go through the system, their focus is not looking for jobs. They are more inclined toward entrepreneurship. So they migrate to the MSME platform, migrate to the SME platform, and we create definitive support for that group so that they can grow. You know, if you have 1,000 SMEs that employs 2 individuals, you have taken 2,000, you've taken 4,000 youths out of the job market. So there are definitive plans that we have to have, but if we look at it the way government sometimes look at it, you look at it from thinking you throw money to every problem that comes. You know, so you can't throw money to every policy problems. You have to sit down, look at the whole project, the whole problem holistically, and then you deal with them in such a way that the solution to one have consequential positive effect on others. You know, that is the way to go. It is not rocket science. It has been done in many countries, and there's no reason why we shouldn't do that.
We also have the Asians coming into the market, and they have a way of doing business which is which is quite more palatable to us. They have a way of doing businesses that people would definitely go for their products. On the organized private sector side, do you think there's a policy that needs to be put in place for a healthy balance and competition? Because we also have Nigerians that are working with other multinationals or other companies that are not Asian.
You know, the first thing we have to get right is our economic philosophy. You must get that right. If you don't get it right, then you accept every kind of philosophy that comes. You accept everybody in your quest for revenue generation, then you'll be exposed to different kind of loan apps. Because you are desperate for cash, then you get yourself sunk into most of those apps without really digging deep into the consequences of those apps. And that is what is happening to us. We've allowed so many kind of businesses to come in, those that came purposely to promote and help us to grow, and those that came in fundamentally because they want to exploit the weaknesses that they've seen in our regulatory environment. And as you said, they have a way of doing their business that seems to be comfortable for us because of our peculiar situation, which is quite unfortunate. Because on the long run, in the short run, yeah, everybody is fine, everybody is okay. But in the long run, it creates a lot of disruption, a lot of damage to the economy, which we believe the regulatory authorities should focus more on. It goes beyond, and we have canvassed it severally, you know, it goes beyond one policy. It goes beyond one action. We must be deliberate in analyzing what is the consequences of this action. The NECA policy you mentioned, good policy, but on the long run, we were excluding those that we plan to include.
Finally, we're in the transitioning period. There's a president-elect. What would be your expectation from the incoming government?
Yeah, you know, I think we've said it once or twice that, you know, the incoming government seems to be very fortunate.
Not unfortunate.
Very fortunate. I believe strongly they understand the multidimensional problems that we have. It would be unfortunate if, as of today, they don't have, or if they don't have a road plan on how to deal with those problems. You know, the margin for cherry picking, or the margin for error, is almost tending to zero. We all know we have revenue problems. They must understand how to deal with revenue problems. We have oil theft issues. They must have fashioned out what is the best security measure to contain oil theft. We have foreign direct investments that is thinning out. They must have come up with a policy to address how to bring back foreign direct investments. Our foreign reserve is going down. They must have had strategies how do we deal with this. And the good thing is, you know, most of these things are not rocket science. We have countries in the world that have done it. We have countries that have been in a worse situation, and they navigated themselves a way out of those quagmires. Then how exactly have they done it? And I said it's not rocket science. It's not brain surgery. So the solution to deal with all these issues, they are with us. They just need the political will to deal with this issue. And I said, the margin for error, the margin for give us 1 year, give us 2 years, give us 3 years, that margin is very slim. So they must come in and hit the ground running.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having us.
And that's all we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us next week for a fresh edition of the show. I am Sharon Ijason. Thanks for watching, and remember that labor creates wealth.